What's going on, folks? This is Hero Stormwolf with just a quick first impressions on what I thought of the Dragon Ball Xenoverse network test. For those who don't know, this weekend, if you had access to the code from a Facebook page or from anyone else, you could play for Saturday and early Sunday morning. So these are just two matches that I managed to record. And just so you know now, it's not slow because of my editing. That's just actually how the online part works, and I'll get into that in a minute. So first off, the character creation inside the network test, you was allowed to create a male or female Saiyan and a Namekian. Now each class had different attributes. The Namekians were high in defense but had low attack power, but could also regenerate health after they lost a certain amount. The Saiyans have better attacks, or better base attacks, but slightly weaker defense and health. But if they revive after death, they actually come back stronger. And the female Saiyans are a lot quicker, but have less attacks and a bit more defense. The males are a lot stronger, but a little bit slower. So this leaves to each class will be a lot different. And if you kind of looked at some of the items that were on sale, you could play as either the some of the Majins, the Freezer race, which is pretty interesting, but there's no Android race, which me and a friend kind of discussed that too. It's kind of surprising that there was no Android race actually shown. Maybe to be in later or something, but it's kind of surprising. I think a lot of people expected the Android class. But moving on from that, controls, they feel like a mix between Tenkaichi and Battle of Z. It still has the same targeting from Battle of Z more or less, but it tries to emulate the combat from the Tenkaichi series, meaning like your squares, your light attacks, your triangles, your heavy, circle is your key blast and stuff like that. But each class and each character actually has a different string of attacks combining the light and heavy. So, for instance, your created character, if you press square 5 times and press triangle, you'll do a series of attacks, then launch them, and then launch them in the air and then crash them back down. You can also charge certain hard attacks during the mid-string of combos to break blocks, so it tries to emulate the feel of Tenkaichi, but it's not as fluid. And the targeting it works to target people, but when you try and combine that with the Dragon Dash, it's really awkward. Like, you don't necessarily dash towards your opponent, you just kind of dash in that general direction. So there'll be times where you try and dash towards your opponent, but you'll go like right above their head or right below their head. And it's really weird. It takes some time to get used to. I'm sure in the final version they'll work on the kinks and stuff like that, but the controls are weird. They're not the worst I've played in Dragon Ball Z game, but they're definitely not the best either. The online, it was pretty bad. I mean, that's to be expected from a network test. It wasn't really meant to be, perfect or anything. Like, it was more of a stress test. So in the 3v3 battles, it kind of slows down to quite a noticeable rate. The 1v1 and 2v2, not so much. 2v2 is actually pretty stable for the most part. It works. Just got to get used to the delay in the online. But going back to the characters, so your created character and some of the other characters actually have skills, and you equip your character with different skills, such as the double Sunday, special beam cannon, the Kamehameha, stuff like that. So each character will be different depending on what skills you build. You can have up to 4 special attacks, and I believe it's 4 ultimate attacks, and these are just from the show themselves. There are a couple of broken ones like Nappa's, which starts off at the ground and fires straight up and is unblockable. If you catch someone in that, I mean, it does quite a considerable amount of damage. But what I didn't like is that you have to have a skill to charge your ki. I found that very weird. Just to simply charge your ki, you have to sacrifice a slot for it. I don't know, it didn't sit well with me, but I guess I understand the reasoning for it. It just seemed very weird. But for some of the smaller nuances of skills, they work out for the most part. It definitely leads to higher customizations. Questing, there was only 2 quests available. You can party up to 3 members, though a lot of the times we got disconnected. Again, this was a stress test of the network, so this kind of be expected. It feels as though this game is trying to be a mix of Dragon Ball Online with Battle of Z mixed in with Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi series. So it's an interesting take. It definitely needs to be fleshed out in a couple of areas, but all in all, it's not terrible. If the game was to come out something close to this, as I'm showing you right now, I would probably wait till price drop. That being said, I know this is just kind of in the middle between alpha and beta, so I'm not judging it too harshly. This is just more of first impressions of it. It's not terrible by any means. It was actually pretty fun. I hope the character customization is a lot deeper than what they've shown. It was pretty bare bones for the most part. Again, because it is a network test and not an actual beta or alpha or anything like that. But it'd be cool to see how some of the other classes work, especially the Frieza class. That's actually surprising. That's an actual class race or anything like that. So I'm just going to end it here. Final notes, it's not bad. It was definitely fun playing, and I hope I can get a chance to do it again so I can give you guys another impression on it, hopefully with a more stable build. Later.